today at Aster CMI Hospitals, and today we are going to talk about diet in children during pandemic. Myself, Dr. Tejasvi, I'm working as a pediatric specialist at Aster CMI Hospital, Bangalore, and today here we have Dr. Harish Kumar with us, who is a consultant pediatric and pediatric intensive care unit, and who also has a special interest in diet and nutrition in children. He always believed that diet has a major role to play in treating, preventing, and controlling many disease ailments. So let's hear more from him. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Tejasvi, and thank you for those kind words and giving me this opportunity. I thank Aster for the marketing team and others who are involved in this. Thank you.
So, sir, as there is no specific treatment or vaccine against COVID-19 and we are completely dependent on our immunity during this period, so let's start off our session by understanding how immunity is important to fight a disease.
Yeah, immunity becomes utmost important generally in any disease, but many times we get over with the infections using antibiotics and other things. But in viral, majority of the viral, as well as now we have this COVID, where we do not have specific therapies, so we depend on all the supportive treatment to bring the patient out of it. And so during this time, those people who have better immunity score well and they have a better chances of recovery and coming out of it. So immunity becomes most important. So we are fighting COVID based on our immunity and not only because of some medicines. And as we know, so far we do not have a vaccine for that. So we have to build up our immunity to face this pandemic.
Sure, sir. So one of the favorite questions asked by many parents who walk into our outpatient department is that how can I increase my child's immunity, or what are the foods that I can give to boost my child's immune system? So how can we inculcate these foods in our day-to-day regimen, sir? And also I have a question from one of our viewers asking, hi doc, how can you please tell me what food is best which can boost the immunity of my 6-year-old?
Yeah, we are all born as babies. We are all born with a genetic code which enables us to build our immunity. But we are not born with a concrete immunity. We just have the base for immunity, but we need to build up our immunity and maintain it on a day-to-day basis thereafter throughout our life to survive in this world and face all the diseases. So once we have a proper base to build up our immunity, food and other things are important to make sure our immunities are normal. Those who do not eat proper food do not have a good immunity. Immunity which is less or immunity which is hyper, both are abnormal. Having a normal immunity is a proper balance. And this can happen by eating good food on day-to-day basis. Right from breastfeeding when a baby is born to later on having their normal diet pattern. Any food which is processed and bought from the market, which is processed and packed in containers and then sold it to us, they are not good for our immunity. So what is good for immunity? You have to make sure your child consumes a lot of vegetables and fruits, and which should be more of raw, and nuts also improve the immunity. Raw food increases the immunity, improves the immunity, and cooked food reduces the immunity. So there should be a balance of cooked and uncooked food consumed on a day-to-day basis. Alkaline food improves the immunity. Alkaline food are all uncooked food are alkaline, and all cooked food are generally acidic. So acidic food, fried food, they produce more acids in our body. When a lot of acids are produced in our body, the immune cells do not function well. So our immunity is less. So alkaline food for better immunity. Simple thing like water. Warm water improves our immunity, whereas cold water do not help us to build up our immunity. Along with eating such kind of wholesome food, homemade wholesome food, which is partly cooked, partly uncooked, we need to make sure we consume all the vitamins, vitamin E, vitamin C, beta carotene. They are all called antioxidants in our food. We need to consume, and these antioxidants are available in vegetables, fruits, sprouts, nuts, dry fruits, and all those things. And try to consume a lot of minerals which is needed, micro minerals like zinc, iron, they are all important for our immunity. And Ayurveda point of view, there are some herbal plants which give us immunity like Giloi, which is called Amrutaballi in Kannada, and there are various names in various languages. In English, it is called heart leaf moon seed. So that's how they call it. And neem tree. The neem tree leaves are helpful in improving our immunity. Ashwagandha, aloe vera, amla which is vitamin C. All this improve our immunity. Make sure do not give more sweets. Sweets reduces and kills our immunity, and more of bitter and raw food improves our immunity. Along with that, overeating also reduces our immunity. Do not overfeed your child. Don't expect that child should eat a lot. So giving a proper gap between meals is a very good strategy for child. Let the child play. Physical activity is important. Once the child plays well, child is going to become more hungry. There is a proper gap between two meals, and then when the child eats well. If we do not give adequate gap, they do not build up immunity, they do not build up hunger, and then they do not consume adequate good food. Along with all this, we have to have a good exposure to sunlight. Sunlight on our skin helps building our immunity. And nowadays, our lifestyles have become so indoor that we are into the AC chambers all the time. Once we are to our work in the morning, and then till evening we are inside, and we never get to see the sunlight. So make sure you expose yourself to sunlight more often. So these things may help to build up the immunity. And this doesn't happen over time, over a night or so. You are expecting once you get the fever and then you want to build up your immunity, it doesn't work. You have to keep building up your immunity, which acts like a base for you to fight any diseases.
So, sir, are there anything called antiviral foods? If so, what are the top antiviral foods that you can suggest we use right now in these pandemic times to beef up our immune system?
There are some herbs and other leaves which are called antiviral because they have antiviral property as well as antibacterial property. They act somewhat like our antibiotics, antivirals that we use in our medicine as injections and tablets or syrups. So some of them are herbal leaves like tulsi, mint, and curry leaves, those things. Vegetables, fruits, as I told you now, honey is a very good antiviral. In case of cold, you just consume honey, and that honey is sticking on inside the throat layer. That will help in fighting the virus. A lot of vitamin A is needed, vitamin C, vitamin E. These are all antioxidant vitamins. The demand for these vitamins increases during any viral illness. And vitamin C is called a general antibiotics. It is a general antibiotic. It can act as antibiotic against anything, and it can act as a general antiviral as well. So make sure lemon, amla, and those vitamin C containing foods have to be consumed in larger quantity. So these things will help as antiviral.
One more interesting question I want to ask about is, sir, we all know that obesity exists in adults, prevails in adults, but we are also increasingly noticing it in younger ones. So, how your weight alone put you at higher risk? In other words, is obesity linked to the severity of corona illness? I have a similar question from one of our viewers too, sir. My kid has been putting on weight during this pandemic due to no much physical activity. What should I do?
No much physical activity itself may be a cause of putting on weight, especially because now children are not allowed to play outdoor. Coming to the obesity as a risk factor, we know that obesity is a clear risk factor for morbidity or mortality in terms of COVID as well as other diseases. So we are seeing more often this close association in adults, where adults who are obese are having higher mortality chances, and many times we see that young age obese people are not able to survive COVID, whereas old age 80-year-old 90-year-old people are improving even with their old age. The reason is 80-90-year-old people have not consumed so much of junk, and they have been living more disciplined life, and that's how at a higher age also they have retained their immunity, whereas the next generation who is buying stuff from outside and then consuming have developed obesity. And now recent studies have shown in urban population, in children, urban, 1 out of 4 or 5 children are already obese. So we are going to have lot more obese people as adults in future, and obesity is an endemic as of now. And even in children the same trend continues. Obese children are at more risk of something called cytokine storm that we see during an infection. Once the infection hits our system, the virus do not survive for weeks and weeks together. Virus comes, hits and goes off. But after that, our immune system has a disbalance, which is usually seen in the second week. And that is more in obese people. So obesity is a strict no-no in either children as well as adult. And obesity is not about only if they have a lot of obesity everywhere. Even the obesity, only the tummy coming out, which is called the visceral abdominal fat, itself is a risk for COVID.
That's a very valuable information, sir. So, sir, is there a relationship between constipation and having a good immune system? So, can you throw some light on this, sir? Is there any relationship between these two?
Yeah, so, because where does this immunity come from? 90% of the immunity comes from our intestine, that is the gut. And this immunity depends on the microbiota, the bacteria that are there in our intestine. And this bacteria and this immunity from our intestine comes from the type of food that we consume. As we discussed, all the healthy food that we eat, if we are consuming constantly healthy food, then healthy intestinal growth of bacteria leads to healthy immunity. So 90% of the immunity comes from the gut. That is what we need to remember. So food becomes the most important. And if this gut is all constipated, if the bowel movement, whatever is eaten today has to get cleared by tomorrow, because it is food today. Tomorrow it is no more a food, it becomes a toxin in our body, and toxins should not be retained. Once toxins are sitting in our body more than 24 hours, sometimes 18-24 hours and so on. So if it is there for a prolonged period of time in the intestine, then it leads to abnormal immunity, because gut is the place for immunity. So we should not be constipated. To avoid constipation, having a lot of water, especially warm water, consuming a lot of fiber containing food, that is fruits and vegetables in raw form, will help us to improve constipation.
So can you suggest some home remedies for cold and flu for children?
Yeah, we do not have in our allopathy medicine, we do not have antiviral for every viruses. There are a lot of viruses. So most of the time they are self-limiting, but we have a lot of bunch of things that we can do to help our system get rid of these viruses whenever we catch cold and flu kind of symptoms. Just simple thing is consuming warm water. We have to hydrate ourselves. If we are dehydrated and if we catch up viral disease, then there are chances that this mucus becomes more thick in the nose as well as the respiratory system. Thick mucus will harbor more virus and allow it to multiply more. If we want to get rid of the number of, because that is called viral load, if we have to get rid of those viral load and get ourselves better fast, then we have to have thin mucus as much as possible, and that is possible only by taking lot of water. That too water, if it is consumed in warm water, which helps the clearing of our respiratory tract better. Warm water also improves the immunity. Eating is not that important during the illness, but water hydration is most important. So don't expect your child to eat more. Even if your child is not eating much of food, it's okay. If the child is taking a lot of liquids like warm water, soups or something like that, it should be fine. Other home remedies are honey. Honey is a very good, they have seen that honey acts better than some of the cough syrups and other things that we prescribe. But it should be pure honey. There is a lot of adulteration in the market that makes it more difficult. Ginger is one of the important things. Ginger has something called COX-2 inhibitor in it. So this acts like an anti-inflammatory. So it has an antiviral as well as anti-inflammatory effect. Turmeric has some ingredient called curcumin, and this also has anti-inflammatory, antiviral. Pepper, cinnamon, all these spices, lemon, green tea. Green tea has something called EGCG, which improves it is a strong antioxidant. Antioxidants help us to get rid of those viral load. And herbal leaves, as I told you, the tulsi, mint, they also can be used. You can boil it and drink those extracts. Steam inhalation, gargling with simple salt and warm water, and aromatherapy. You can use eucalyptus oil, or there are lemongrass oil, rosemary oil. Those things, if you put on the child's clothes over the chest, that same fumes child will be inhaling. Whenever they take this aromatic oils fumes into the nose, it helps in clearing the mucus. So these things will give a lot of relief, because during the cold and flu season, babies do not sleep because of this thing. Not only they may not have a fever, but then they will have other symptoms, and it is a stressful situation for parents to handle the kids during that time.
So there is one interesting question from one of our viewers. What kind of food to be avoided for my 3-year-old son? He's always wanting to eat snacks. And what should the snack serving be? In other words, what foods that has to be avoided that can affect our immunity?
So there are some food which damages immunity in a long way, and they should be strictly avoided. All this processed food should be avoided during, in fact, snacks. Nowadays, people feel snacks means only biscuits and chocolates which are bought from the market. So those are not snacks. You can give healthy snacks like peanuts or other boiled nuts, and then salads and other things. Traditionally, we used to give all this chakli, papad and these kind of things also as snacks. But we would advise during the viral illness, avoid fried food, but otherwise healthy snacks are allowed. Sugar should be strictly avoided, because sugar reduces the immunity drastically. Sugar not only reduces the immunity, also increases the inflammation. There is something called cardiac CRP. Cardiac CRP is the CRP which indicates the inflammation in the heart. And this cardiac CRP is elevated when sugar is consumed. High calorie and sugar increases the cardiac CRP. So this cardiac CRP is somewhere related to the COVID presenting as heart problems. We have seen COVID in adults presenting as heart attacks also, and stroke. The risk increases because if there is high CRP in them already. All white in the food has to be avoided, whether it is white rice, white sugar, white salt, white maida, and even this A1 milk, which is the Jersey milk. You should avoid these things which are white in food. All that is white is not right. That's what we counsel the parents. And refined carbohydrate and saturated oils, saturated fat should be avoided. The raw unsaturated fat is good, like ghee is good enough. Virgin coconut oil, virgin olive oil, you can consume it uncooked. The moment you fry the oil, the tadka that we use, or the fried bhaji and other things, so then this becomes more saturated, and oxidizing property of the oil increases, and that is damaging to our immune system. Refined sugar is no. All this junk food has a lot of refined carbohydrates in it. So no processed food. All processed food, whichever comes in the market, is junk food. So what is junk? Whichever is made in the factory or bakery is a junk. So all that reduces the immunity. So along with that, all this processed food also come with lot of preservatives, toxic additives, coloring agent, tasting agent, preservatives, because that is not a food which was done yesterday, prepared yesterday. Coloring agents are there. So these preservatives are given because this was packed some 6 months back, and today the child is eating it. So it is an old food which is preserved at a cost of nutrition and health. So avoid those food.
That's very informative, sir. Having talked about the foods that we have to avoid, let's talk about what is the importance of detoxing one's body, sir, and how do we reduce our toxic load?
What is an ideal food? What is a very good food? A very good food is which gives needed nutrition to us, to our body, and especially for a child who is growing, needs more nutrition, more nutritive substances than we adults. So whatever nutrition is needed, that is given by the food. That is a good food, leaving minimal or no waste in the body. Because whatever food we eat, during the process of assimilation and metabolism in our body, it leaves waste in our body. Like any other factory, you have some product which is a useful product, but then a lot of waste is coming out of the factory, right? So similarly, our body is also a factory in which you put food in it, it utilizes what it can utilize, and then other waste material comes out of it, and then if there is a way to eliminate it, excrete it out, it gets excreted, otherwise it gets clogged in our body. So the food should leave as minimum as possible wastes in our body. And there are some food which just not produce toxins but also take out toxins which are already consumed. For example, yesterday if I have consumed some fried food or something, and that toxin can be cleared by eating a detox food. What are those detox food? Most of the raw food and plant-based food are detoxifying food. So once we detoxify our system, then our immunity improves. It's like a dustbin. If a dustbin is dirty, the bacteria gets scope to grow in that dustbin, right? Wherever is the garbage and dirt, there the bacteria grows. So if we make our body as dustbin and throw all this food and waste material in us, then bacteria or virus, any infection, today it is COVID or any other infection generally, has a better scope of flourishing. So don't make your body a dustbin. Whatever you consume, you clear it off, toxins should be cleared. So a detoxed body will produce normal immunity, healthy immunity, and you can obviously fight any disease. And detoxification happens not only by consuming detoxifying food, but also giving gap in our food. Like when there is a proper gap between two meals, there is a cleaning process happen. So fasting or gap in the food, because why I am saying gap is because we do not make children fast. We just want them to play well, become more hungry, give a good gap and then eat. Fasting is all only meant for adults. Children have to have adequate gap, that's all. So whenever there is a gap between two meals, the toxins, there is a scope of for the body to clear the toxins. So that's more important. So children who are constantly eating all the time will have lower immunity. Overeating leads to lower immunity. That is because toxins are not cleared. And junk food produces highest toxin. Carbohydrate, sugar, whichever we said we should not eat, white rice, all the whites, they produce more toxins in our body. That's why you have to avoid all those things.
That was very informative, sir. So nowadays, healthy food trends are more inclined towards microgreens and consumption of microgreens. So what are these microgreens and why are they called superfoods, and what is their role in boosting our immunity?
We have to actually eat rainbow in our plate. All the colors. We should not have only white color in our plate or red color. We should have all the colors in our plate, where is green, yellow, red, white, purple, all those things. So the more colorful is our plate, the more better is the food. Of all the colors, the green color is the most vital. Means we need to eat green leaves. That is plant-based food. And that food when we consume should be green. So most of them are leaves. That is why green leafy vegetables. A pregnant lady, you ask them to take green leafy vegetables. But those leaves, if they are cooked, then they lose the vitality. It is like you are eating spinach after cooking, but it doesn't help. It is not exactly what is written. Spinach has this benefits. It doesn't give that benefit because you've destroyed. Any processing, including cooking, will destroy that nutrient and as well as the vitality. Our body is a biologically alive. Our cells are alive. So we have to eat food which is alive. And plants, even if I have plucked a leaf out of the plant, the cells there are still alive. They may have disconnected from the root, and that is how there is no future life, but there is life at that moment. So if you eat it live, it is more important. But because of urbanization now, we do not get proper greens outside. So if we take spinach and whatever other fenugreek leaves and all those things. One is pesticide use is high and they may not be fresh, we may not be getting, because a lot of storage happens in the refrigerators. So we are not sure about it. So there is another technique in which you can use technique of growing microgreens in your whatever house only. If you have a small balcony or a little bit of sun is required, ventilation is required, open air is needed. So you can also develop those microgreens in the pots. What are those? They are all spinach, and you can also grow fenugreek leaves. You can grow some tulsi, some ginger and ginger leaves, all those things. So you can also, we eat beetroot. Beetroot leaves can be eaten. It is healthy. So we do not. So those kind of things can be grown within our limits of our house. And why is it important? Because green leaves have chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is one of the important nutrient. And plants have more of chlorophyll and phytochemicals and enzymes. When you heat, those enzymes get deactivated. So you have to consume those leaves without deactivating the enzyme. It has been seen clearly in a lot of studies that plant-based eating people have a longer life expectancy. So micronutrients are high, antioxidants are high. For example, red cabbage. If you take a red cabbage, which you buy from the market, if you grow red cabbage leaves, small greens, and then consume, the vitamin E in a red cabbage is 40 times more than what is found in the cabbage that you buy in the market. So you are getting 40 times more nutrition, and you are not spending any much money. You may have to put some seeds and put watering the plant. That too, you don't have to water every day, depending on the requirement. Usually alternate day or so. It is very cost effective. It consumes less space. You can use it as a dressing on the salads, soups. There is no adulteration because you are sure you have grown it. There is no pesticide use. So you can just pluck it and consume it. So these are all the advantages, and chlorophyll itself gives better immunity. The plant leaves are very important. So make sure you eat all the colors in your plant, in your plate, and then green should be the predominant color. That is how microgreens are very useful.
Okay, sir. So basically, the more raw food we eat, the healthier we are.
Yes.
Sure, sir. So a very important question that I want to ask you is, sir, is it safe for nursing mothers to breastfeed who are COVID positive?
Yeah, this is
If
a common question.
Safe, how far is it safe?
Yeah. So this was a little difficult question because the mother is COVID positive and newborns are already exposed to the mother. So, but then one point answer is you have to breastfeed the baby. I will tell you why. Because recent studies, it has come in the Indian Academy of Pediatric journal just 2 days back, that in these developing countries and underdeveloped countries, because of the COVID pandemic, the mortality in newborns and babies is expected to increase by about 17%. So they're going to die of other things because of pandemic, because of non-availability of medical resource limitations. So far, we have not documented any COVID virus in breast milk. So milk doesn't give virus to the baby. The mother's milk do not give. But they have seen a lot of antibodies produced by the mother, which comes through the milk to the babies. So if a baby is feeding milk, baby will not get the virus, but baby will get the antibodies to fight against the virus. As such, the COVID infection is very mild in newborns and children compared to adults and elderly. In that also, if a baby is getting ready-made antibodies from the mother through the breast milk, it should be given. The only risk is because of the proximity of association, because mother is going to catch the baby and all. So mother is advised to follow some standard hygiene like wearing the mask, proper mask, and doing hand hygiene, cleaning the hands before picking up the baby, all those things, and they can give milk. And they have not seen, if you see the benefit and risk ratio, the benefit is far more than the risk involved in breastfeeding. So it is standard guidelines to give breastfeeding even in a mother who is COVID positive. And not only that, in some centers they have also followed policy where mother and baby are kept aside for those couple of days. Mother expresses the milk, so which is antibody producing. You do not get the baby and mother together, but then you take the same mother's milk, which is good for the baby, and give it by spoon for those couple of days till the mother gets well. And only in those worst situations where the mother is on ventilator because of COVID or any such situations where you cannot feed the baby, there baby is given alternate, that is pooled human milk or something like that. Last option is to give formula. The last, and if you're giving formula, you do not have any other option. You explore all other options of feeding to the baby. So this is how we are following as of now. The guidelines may further evolve and give us more advice on how we can go ahead with such situations.
It's an excellent answer, sir. So we have one very practical question from one of our viewers. Hello doctors, my kid don't eat food sitting in one place. Is there a way which help mothers to feed them easily?
No normal child is going to sit in one place from beginning of the meal to the end of the meal. If a child is sitting, especially the toddler, then something is wrong with the baby. So do not expect that. It is a child, it's not an adult. So we ask parents to show child that, and they take to the balcony and show them outside some sparrow, some crow flying, there is a dog outside, and something like that, and then entertain the baby and then feed them. So this is the way child should be eaten. And why the children do not eat? There is nothing like child do not eat, because even a today born baby feels hunger. Hunger is an intrinsic feeling. It is not to be learned. So hunger and baby cries for feeding, right? So hunger is always felt by children and they do feed. Many a times parents have very high expectation of giving more and more to their children, and that makes them feel that my child is not eating. In fact, the child would have been eating well and their weight, and when they come to our OPDs we see their weights are all fine. So maybe your expectation is too much, that child should sit there and eat as much as you want. So that is where you need to little rethink about your expectation. But then make sure child is given all healthy food, and you can use any other entertaining mode to entertain the child while feeding, and then so that feeding is a very good experience. But avoid screens. Do not show mobile, laptop, computer just because you can. It becomes easy for you to feed your child. So that's what we could advise them.
So that was very informative, sir. And now that's a wrap. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in this session. Hope we have answered all your questions. If you have any more queries, please drop it in our comment section. Our experts will get back to you shortly over those. Thank you so much. That's the end of our session, sir. Thank you for your valuable time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.